Hi there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Talking Faith, where Johnny and I just sit down and have a bit of a chat, share some of what's been going on in our minds, in our lives, things that we've been reflecting on when it comes to the balance of life and faith and working out faith in life. And I do hope that you take some nuggets of what we share, what we talk about, reflect on them yourself, maybe talk with other folks about it. It's good to talk faith, to share our experiences, to share what's going on in our mind and be honest with one another as we reflect together on living faith out. So with that said, Johnny, what's been on your mind, I guess, over this last little while?
Well, over the last few weeks, one of the things that's been kind of playing through my mind has been the concept of encouragement. Something that I find very important just in life, that we encourage others and to be encouraged as well. And I think the reason why it's on my mind is the podcast that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. They had another guest on recently. And when they were interviewing this person, the person's a motivational speaker, and he says actually one of the problems, especially between people of the age 20 and 30, is there's not much encouragement going about. Actually, they don't hear as much encouragement as they maybe need to inspire them to continue living life in the best way possible. And it really started playing in my mind because I think in Scotland we have a couple of ways of humour. One in particular would be self-deprecating humour, and then on top of that, maybe banter within friends. And a lot of that comes out to kind of slightly mocking one another or mocking yourself. And I think that is the antithesis, the opposite of encouragement. And I think over time, maybe that would build up to be a bit of a problem within someone's life. And sort of reflecting back on my own life as well, I maybe realised actually the need for encouragement is quite important right now.
Yeah, I think that's an important one to reflect on. It can be easy, particularly in our humour, to be a bit cutting towards one another, and it's not necessarily always a bad thing. There's good jokes in there, but actually, are we building people up at the same time? Are we making sure that we're thinking about the knock-on effect on them? What would be some of your experience then with encouragement or reflections that can stand out to you?
So as I was sort of like thinking through like encouragement within my life, it kind of comes down to when I was starting to figure out my giftings with God. And I remember maybe in about fifth year going out on a mission trip with Colin McCaw, who's a friend of ours. He was sort of the leader of that mission, and to be perfectly honest, I was kind of useless. I was going on the mission trip just because, you know, maybe I'd have some friends there and it'd be a fun thing to do. There was nothing really much more beyond that. But in the first day of the trip, Colin asked me to do a very simple task, which was just to essentially write the team names up on the board so everyone can see it in a nice handwriting way before we started. And, well, you know me, Callum. How's my handwriting?
I mean, not famed.
My handwriting is absolutely terrible.
You could be a doctor, let's say that.
Yeah, it's not good. But he asked me to do it, so I did it as best as I could. Then I kept trying and trying, because actually each time I went back to him, he kind of went, maybe if you try it again, it's maybe not what I'm looking for, try it again, until at the end I put forward quite a good maybe compared to what I do, handwriting of these sort of 4 different countries we're using as teams. And at the end of the evening, he was like, Johnny, I'd just like to say in front of everyone, thank you very much. Like, I know it's not exactly your forte, but actually you tried your best and you kept going until you got something really good. And that's what I hope for from every member of my team. And I remember being really encouraged by that. And the rest of the week was very similar because he is a very encouraging person. And it kind of gave me a realization that maybe youth work at that point was something I'd be interested in. And it kept pushing, and thankfully I no longer am at the stage where I was there, where things were quite difficult and maybe not that good. But actually through encouragement, I found a skill and a gift that I could use to be a blessing to other people. And that came from people like Colin, who encouraged me when maybe I wasn't as good as I am now.
Yeah, I think it's actually a really important and valuable skill to be an encourager. I know that over the years I too have been encouraged by Colin in some great and supportive ways along there. When it comes to, I guess, scripture, is there anything that kind of stands out? Any ideas, any people, any concepts that come to your mind when it comes to encouragement?
Well, there's a verse that comes to mind quite often, as in Hebrews chapter 10. And what it says is, you know, may we continue to spur one another on to love and good deeds. Let us not stop meeting together like some are in the habit of doing, but encourage one another to keep on in the walk. And that is very important to me, that concept of encouraging one another, but also that notion of spurring one another on to love and good deeds. There's like a goal involved with it, to inspire each other to essentially do better in our walk with the Lord, but also just in our lives. And I think that theme comes through with a character in Scripture, a guy called Barnabas, who is named that because he's the son of encouragement. And there's one particular situation where Barnabas and Paul are away on a missionary journey, and one of their followers, who is Barnabas' cousin, leaves them. It's too much for him to handle, it's very difficult, and this guy Mark goes back to Jerusalem because things are too hard. And once Paul and Barnabas finish the missionary journey, they come back to Jerusalem and they think, let's go out again, let's do a second journey. And Barnabas is like, well, let's take Mark again. Let's give him another chance, let's take Mark. But Paul's not for it. And Barnabas and Paul have a bit of a fallout. Barnabas goes one way, Paul goes the other. But Barnabas leads Mark through his life and continues to do mission with him until, well, later on we see that he's the one that writes the Gospel of Mark through the help of Peter. His life is transformed and changed, and by the end of Paul's days, Paul actually wants Mark to come and be a part of his mission again. And I think that's simply due to Barnabas, due to his encouragement and due to him investing into this guy's life. And I think that's something very encouraging for me as I think through, well, how we encourage other people, because we don't know the impact that may have. That changed Mark's life forever, and it could change the people's life that we just do small acts of encouragement towards. And I think that really has inspired me as I've thought about encouragement recently.
And well, thank you for sharing, Johnny, and I do hope that you've taken some encouragement from those words and maybe reflect on what it looks like to be an encourager to other folks, to make sure that that's actually part of what we're doing. We're supporting and encouraging one another in this walk of faith. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.